The last we saw of the reservation dogs, the friends were letting go of their grief on a Los Angeles beach. The protagonists and namesake of the half-hour series on FX were thousands of miles from home, a testament to the flexible, expansive world-building of CO creator Sterling Harjo and his team. Reservation Dogs is rooted in its specific setting of indigenous Oklahoma, but the show also gives itself license to experiment with focus, tone and, eventually, geography. It's a story with the confidence to go new places, and trusts the audience will follow. As a result, Reservation Dogs could have started its third and final season just about anywhere. Instead, the action picks up right where it left off. With Bear, DeFaro Woon Atai, Elora, Devery Jacobs, Willie Jack, Paulina Alexis, and Cheese, Lane Factor, stranded in Santa Monica without a car or a plan. Before the events of the show, the crew of native teens lost fifth member Daniel, Dalton Kramer, as seen in flashbacks, to suicide. Without a center of gravity, the group started to drift apart, onto their own paths of mourning. At the end of Season 1, Elora abandoned Bear to take off for California with Jackie, Elva Guerra, the scowling, bleached blonde ringleader of a rival clique. By the end of Season 2, the dogs had come back together to celebrate Daniel as one, locking arms in the Pacific Ocean. With some closure on this central storyline, there's a version of Reservation Dogs that could continue indefinitely, exploring new corners of its characters' community. Some of the series' best episodes have expanded the show beyond the dogs themselves, whose perspective can be myopic in the way of young people experiencing their first brush with adulthood. Light Horseman Big, Zon McLarnon, a tribal cop no one takes seriously, got his own spotlight. So did Bear's mother, Rita, Sarah Podemski, a tough and wryly intelligent single mom who raised a son without his erratic aspiring rapper of a dad. My personal favorite installment took place midway through Season 2 at a conference for the Indian Health Service, where four middle-aged women let loose in a more mature, equally goofy version of the kids' adolescent hijinks. Instead, Harjo announced in June that Reservation Dogs would end with Season 3. The show may have cultivated a sprawling, almost Simpsons-like cast of small-town eccentrics, but a coming-of-age tale ultimately belongs to those coming of age. The 4 episodes of this final season provided to critics take steps toward what seems to be a definitive conclusion, but through a typically digressive route. This indirect approach is a fitting farewell to one of the most singular shows on TV, though Reservation Dogs has always worn its significance lightly. On the bus ride back to their sleepy hometown of Okern, a trip Reservation Dogs traces on a map labeled with the historic territories of native tribes, Bear gets separated from his companions. Egged on by William Knifeman, Dallas Goldtooth, his slacker of a spirit guide, Bear embarks on a journey guided by the ghosts of history, a conquistador, Eric Maynard, lost on the Salt Flats, a hermit, Graham Greene, living off the grid, and Dear Lady, Connie Adio Horn, the vengeful spirit last seen in Season 1 who gets an origin story in harrowing flashback. Only after Bear's travels do we get a vintage Reservation Dogs hang, with the bored foursome entertaining themselves while doing odd jobs at the IHS clinic. In its portrait of indigenous life, Reservation Dogs touches on all kinds of weighty social issues. The long shadow of genocide and mass displacement looms over every frame, manifesting in poverty, mental illness, and a claustrophobic sense of social malaise. But Reservation Dogs is not a grim PSA meant to educate a non-native audience about the plight of its subjects. The show often integrates cultural references without explaining them, like a Season 3 subplot driven by a character's belief in so-called star people. A droll sense of humor adds to the feeling that we're listening in on a conversation, not sitting down for a lesson. I think I'm, like, an accessory to murder now, Bear says of his encounter with Dear Lady. But that's cool.